So I didn't follow a specific playbook. I just told people what I do, and it led me to my first 5 clients. From a roofing company to a water well company to a suit store, each one of these came from a different type of interaction. So in this video, I'm just gonna walk you through on how I got each client and what worked, what didn't, and why I think networking is a more powerful tool than most people will really give it credit for as far as getting your first few SMMA clients. And so I just wanna say I'm not here to give expert level advice. I just don't have the experience for that, but I do just want to share my experience so far and really just how I found success from doing what I've been doing so far. This video is more about learning from my experience and documenting my process rather than trying to give advice. So whenever I started, I just focused on reaching out to tree service companies because generally people in that niche don't understand technology and how it can help them with their business. So I made about 20 cold calls a day for a short period of time, and I didn't really see much progress from that, which makes sense because that's nowhere near enough. Really, I should be doing around 100 a day, probably more. But I moved on from that, and then I tried to make a roofing lead list. I just figured that I'd have more money opportunity there. And so that's where I got my first client, but it wasn't actually from doing cold calls. It was kind of a lucky coincidence. I had a friend come over. I was showing him what I've been doing, the roofing lead list that I was gonna cold call, and he saw his friend's name on there. And so he just called up his friend and was like, hey, this is my friend, he's doing this, he can help you out with Facebook ads. I told him what I did, and then he was interested and we started. Sadly, I only got to work with him for a month. He didn't want to continue. But a few months later, my other friend started working for a water well company, and he got me in touch with the owner, who then let me run Google ads for their business. I started off working for them for free until I got them good results, and then eventually they became my first paying client. A few months later, I went to a suit store downtown to visit a friend, and that friend introduced me to the owner, who mentioned that he needed help with Google ads, and I told him that I could help him out. Then he became my second paying client. And then I've had 2 other clients, one from a BNI meeting and then one from just a friend of a friend. So with these 5 clients, you can really just see a pattern. All of them came from knowing someone who knew someone that had a business. And none of these were really that intentional. I really just told people what I was doing and it worked out. So some might say I just got lucky to get those, which maybe a little, but I feel like I just used the resources that I had effectively. So I want to break down what I did exactly and how other people starting off can do something similar and see if it works for them. So like I mentioned before, my main form of outreach starting out was cold calls, but my most effective has been networking. I want to show this chart that me and my friend put together that shows the best forms of outreach. So honestly, a lot of people might disagree with this list and the order of things based on their experience, but based on my experience, this is what I believe to be the different order of these different categories for each form of outreach. So I realize there's a lot of different ways to get clients, and each method has its own pros and cons, which makes it hard to choose one to stick with. So we ranked outreach strategies into 4 categories: impact, time efficiency, ROI, and level of difficulty. This just helped us narrow down which forms of outreach we wanted to focus on. And we actually realized after making it that networking was one of the most powerful ones that we didn't even put on the list. So starting with impact, I believe referrals from clients have the highest impact. If you just think about a business owner telling their business owner friend, hey, this guy increased my revenue by this much, that has a high impact, more than any other form of outreach. Next is time efficiency. Outreach methods really vary in the amount of time they actually take you per person you're reaching out to. And cold calls and physical walk-ins to places and businesses, those really take the most amount of time. Whereas sending an email or message or DM at scale through automation can be way faster. ROI, return on investment. Paid ads are just king for this. You can spend $1,000 on ads and get multiple clients, making it really the most easily scalable option. But then cold calls and walk-ins are usually harder to scale without hiring any help, whereas with paid ads, you can literally just sit in your room, run an ad, be the only one behind that ad, and make a bunch of money. Level of difficulty, cold calling and paid ads are definitely on the harder side, just requiring skills like communication or just knowing how to run ads and market overall. But then sending emails and sending DMs are a little bit easier, but as mentioned before, they can be time consuming. However, networking, which usually isn't considered a conventional way to outreach, is actually one of the best forms of outreach considering these different categories. Networking has high impact because you're building on these relationships that already exist with people that trust you. It's also highly time efficient because you're leveraging the connections that you already have, which can really lead to endless opportunities if you just go further and further. The ROI is pretty high since you don't have to invest more time, and it kind of ties into referrals where you work for somebody you know and maybe that person knows someone else that you could work for. And the difficulty just really depends on the amount of people that you know in the business space already. It's pretty easy, and if you don't know some, just meet a few people and it can open up a lot of different doors. It's something that's just already there for you to go and grab and use. I really think it's one of the best ways to get clients starting off in business. I mean, you really don't have to do much. One thing I want to point out too that I've learned is persistence is key no matter what form of outreach you go and choose. Even though cold calls didn't work out for me, which I can't even really say that, I just haven't put in the work for it. It's helped me develop confidence and refine the way that I'm able to explain exactly what I do. Those skills carried over into networking, making it easier and smoother to connect with new people. I can't even say cold calls hasn't worked out for me just because I haven't been consistent enough. And networking also requires persistence in a different but also similar way. You just have to consistently put yourself out there and just be open to new opportunities and jump on them when you can, and just don't give those up. So here's some advice that I wish I had starting out with networking that would have sped up the process for me. The first thing is don't be scared to talk about your business. Starting out, I was pretty hesitant to talk about my business just because I was scared of being judged or sounding stupid. But now I've completely shifted away from that, and I just tell everyone I can, really. Friends, family, coworkers, anyone you can think of. I just bring it up casually in conversation, and you never know who they're gonna know. Eventually you might run into the right person who knows the right person. The second thing is to just visit local businesses. I really try not to overthink it. I just try to talk to as many business owners as I can. People that I already know that own a business, I try to reconnect with them, ask them questions about their business, try to learn. Same with random strangers. If I visit a small business, try to talk to the owner and just see how they run their business, and you can learn a few things. At the very least, you're learning, but hopefully you can actually help these people. At the end of the day, starting off, it's just best to learn, and I think talking to as many business owners as you can, you'll learn a lot, and if you can help them, that's a plus. The third thing is leveraging social media. The same way I was hesitant before with just talking about my business, I was kind of hesitant to share anything about it online, but if you already have a following of anything, you might as well just go post it out there and see if it sparks a conversation with someone. I recently made a social media post from my company's page, and it reactivated a relationship with an old client that I had stopped working with, and now I'm working for them again, all simply just because I made one post thanking their business. So like, networking doesn't have to be this formal or scary thing. It's just a fancy way of saying that you're talking to people, trying to learn, and willing to help them where you can. While networking has a lot of positives, it also has a few downsides to consider. So the one that sticks out the most for me is working for people that you already know. When you work for someone you already know, there's a underlying risk of potentially damaging your relationship with that person if you fail at what you are promising. For example, when I was working for the roofing company, none of the leads that I got him turned into jobs, so he made no money. After the first month, the owner decided to stop running ads, and I don't really think it damaged our relationship, but it could have. In some cases, not meeting expectations may lead to strained relationships. But the bright side of this is usually I frame this from a position of trying to work harder. When I know that I'm working for someone that I have this pressure to reach these expectations for, it makes me more likely to reach those expectations. But another huge drawback is the inconsistency of networking as your outreach. It's a good tool, but it's not something you can fully rely on. For my business to continue to grow, I would need to network constantly, and recently I've pretty much reached out to all of my network. This means that networking should be a supplement to your main forms of outreach, not your main approach. Finally, another big downside is that you'll end up working with a variety of industries. For example, I've worked with a water well company and a high-end suit store, which are two completely different types of businesses. Without sticking to a niche, it's hard to streamline your processes. I was already working for the water well company when I started working for the suit store. And to work for the suit store, I had to learn a whole bunch about the industry before I could actually provide an effective service. If I had worked for another water well company, I could have leveraged my past experience to provide results better and faster. When you rely on networking, you just take any opportunity that comes your way, which just makes it harder to niche down. That's why I feel like it's more of a beginner strategy to kind of find out what you want to do and how you want to do it. It's really just good for getting started and learning, because I've learned a whole bunch from this, but I haven't been able to grow. To sum it up, networking was a major factor in how I got my first 5 clients. It enabled me to use the connections I already have and find people that were just willing to give me a chance. While it has its challenges like inconsistent opportunities and difficulties to actually niche down, I think it's a great way to get started, especially if you're just looking to get that experience. The key takeaway is that networking should be a part of your outreach strategy, but it shouldn't be the entire strategy. Just use it to complement other methods like cold calls, cold emails, cold DMs, paid ads, whatever. So just remember that relationships can help you open doors you didn't even know existed. By just talking to people, staying persistent, and seizing your opportunities, you can grow in ways that you didn't think your business could. If you're stuck waiting to get your first client, just go tell everyone you know what you're doing, and you'd be surprised what doors that can open for you.